Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
In a system where we get to vote for our politicians, I sometimes wonder if we get the politicians we deserve. Because, you think, well, you voted them into office. I guess you deserve that, right? Bunch of people sent me this article. Widely reported, but I got the version from OutdoorLife.com because I think they'd know more about this than anybody else. But a mayor in Ohio says that ice fishing at a public park could lead to prostitution. And Dak Collins wrote this story for OutdoorLife.com. Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. But let a man go ice fishing in a public park, and the place will soon be crawling with prostitutes, according to the mayor. Craig Schubert is the mayor of Hudson, Ohio, does not want people ice fishing at Hudson Springs Park. And they had a debate about this, a discussion about this at a meeting. And during a city council meeting, the mayor voiced his outlandish concern that allowing people to set up ice fishing shanties at the public park could potentially lead to prostitution. He says if you open this up to ice fishing, which, while on the surface sounds good, then what happens next year? I don't know, more ice fishing? Does somebody come back and say, I want an ice shanty in Hudson Springs Park for an X amount of time? And if you then allow ice fishing with shanties, then that leads to another problem, prostitution. Now you have the police, chief of the police department involved. Just some data points to consider. I'm not sure if he knows what the word shanties means. Maybe he thinks that shanties is another word for underwear. I don't know. I don't know how confused you could be. Now, I've never gone ice fishing, but I'm familiar with it. I've seen it on television. I've seen it in real life. And there are places in Michigan where the ice freezes over really, really well in the wintertime where you can walk on it on a lake or, near the shore on a big lake. And people do go out on the ice and they fish through the ice. They drill a hole and they drop a line through. And so it can be very cold out on the ice in the wintertime, as you might imagine, because that's what makes the ice happen. And so sometimes people will set up a little shanty to try to keep themselves a little bit warmer and a little bit less exposed to the elements. And so he thinks that a shanty is the gateway to prostitution. In a video of his comment, which was shared widely on social media where he was mocked incessantly, his strange suggestion generated a prolonged, awkward silence in the room. Then a city council member tried his best to get the conversation going again, said, that's why I'm not in favor of shanties. Nervous laughter and more awkward silence followed. And again, maybe they don't know what the word shanty means and didn't want to admit it and say, hey, excuse me, what is a shanty? The mayor made the comment during a discussion about safety and liability issues surrounding ice fishing in the public park. There are a few risks involved in ice fishing, but they typically involve people falling through the ice or possibly carbon monoxide poisoning if you're using something inside the shanty to try to keep you warm, you're running a generator or something. Obviously, that's a safety issue that could arise anywhere, but again, that does not lead to prostitution. Most ice fishermen will tell you that they're mostly looking for fish and maybe a cold beer or two while they're hanging out in their shanties. So various news organizations contacted the mayor's office and asked for a comment to explain what data points he was referring to. The mayor did, however, release a statement in an attempt to explain his concerns to Fox 8 News in Cleveland. And here's the quote. My comment about ice fishing, the permitting of shanties on lakes, and prostitution stems from my experience as a former television news reporter covering law enforcement agencies which have made arrests for acts of prostitution in ice fishing shanties. When discussing proposed legislation, it is wise to discuss the potential for unintended consequences. My statement was to enlighten counsel that the future permitting of ice shanties may lead to other issues. And so the question is, he was a reporter. Where did he find the story about the ice fishing shanty prostitutes? Reporters with Fox 8 then attempted to check these claims and contacted multiple law enforcement officials in the state, asking them if they'd ever dealt with a situation involving ice fishing shanties and prostitution. Officials in Ottawa, Erie, Ashtabula, and another county I can't pronounce all responded that they have never received any calls or reports about that type of crime and had never heard of such a thing taking place during their time in law enforcement. I don't think an ice fishing hut would be an ideal place for that type of activity, one sheriff said. We've never had that problem. We've never had that problem. And again, I've never been inside an ice fishing shanty, and for all I know, they're equipped like the Taj Mahal. I don't know. Maybe guys build ice shanties now that have, big screen TVs and comfortable leather couches and lazy boys and remote controls and all kind. Maybe they do, but my understanding, generally speaking, was guys would bundle up, go out on the ice, and put up either a thing that looks like a tent or like a shack, depending on how permanent you wanted it to be. But the fact of the matter remains that you're still on a floor of ice. There's ice beneath your feet and a hole in the ice that you're fishing through. Now, again, if ladies of the evening are going to go out and start knocking on shanty doors, don't come knocking to the shanty's rocking, I guess. I suppose it's possible. But the suggestion that it's going to lead to that is absurd. It's absurd. And it's almost as absurd as the police officer in yesterday's video who said that if you let a child outside, a venomous snake will get them. A venomous snake. And I know I shouldn't go here, but I will. I mentioned venomous snakes, and I said, why are we dismissing the constrictors? Because the constrictors can kill you without poison. And I had three people comment and say, Steve, snakes aren't poisonous, they're venomous. And I had said venomous snakes repeatedly. And I said, but the constrictors kill that poison because they constrict. And somebody had then extrapolated that, three people had extrapolated that into me saying that poisonous snakes kill you with poison and boa constrictors and so on constricts people without poison. And that I was mistaken to refer to what it is that a snake uses as poison versus venom. And I've heard that distinction made before, but it didn't occur to me because I was joking when I did the video. And I actually had somebody write me some angry emails about this. And if you look up the word venom in the dictionary, I know you people are upset with me for always referring to dictionaries. But the thing is that words have meaning, and they tend to have accepted meanings. Meaning that most people understand when I say that a snake has some sort of poison involved with it, that most people will understand what that means. And most people did, judging by the fact that only 3 people complained. But if you look up the word venom in the dictionary, and I'm looking up again in the Oxford English Dictionary, which is volume 19, page 507, the definition of venom, number 1, the very first thing it says is poison. Poison. And then it says the poisonous fluid normally secreted by certain snakes and other animals and used by them in attacking other living creatures. So venom is poison. And if you wanted to get technical about this, and I'm not a herpetologist, but there is a group of things we refer to as poisonous. Something's poison. And if it's poisonous, it's poison. So if something is poison and it can hurt you, then we know what poison is, right? And so the venom of a snake is poisonous, and it is a poison. So technically speaking, if we want to get into this, the larger group would be poisons, and the smaller group would be venoms, because the venoms are a type of poison that's affiliated or associated with snakes and other creatures. So there's things underneath your kitchen sink that are poisonous that are not venoms, but they are poisons. And venom also is a poison. So referring to how a venomous snake might hurt you, it would hurt you with its venom, which is poisonous. So to refer to a snake as a poisonous snake might be a faux pas in the world of those who study snakes. It might be. But again, I'll refer you back to my turban car video. Don't make me make another video on word meaning. But the snakes do use poison. And in a snake, it's called venom. but venom is a poison. So there you go. But getting back to the shanties, the mayor in Ohio says that ice fishing at a public park could lead to prostitution. That's his number one objection. Not people falling through the ice, not people getting out there late at night getting drunk, not people running their generators and getting sick from carbon monoxide, not from people driving their vehicles out on the ice when they shouldn't and going through the ice in their cars. No, prostitution. That's when we really want to look at the guy and go, is there something we should know? Really? Seriously? Okay. So the mayor in Ohio says that ice fishing in a public park could lead to prostitution, and no one else thinks so. OutdoorLife.com ran the story. Dak Collins wrote it. Steve, Jeff, Steven, Matt, Dwayne, Alan, and Keith all sent it. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below this. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. The 3 symptoms of laziness. Number 1,